We are back in a tournament setting here, trying to win some more Evolving Skies packs. Since the opportunity is there, we might as well take advantage of it on Theme Deck Tuesday. This time around, as you'll see, we are using the Laser Focus deck, which is the Psychic deck with Necrozma and Malamar, and it's got some other good attackers in there as well to cover our weaknesses in various places, but we'll have to see what we come up against, as our first matchup here is against the Soaring Storm deck. So it's going to be a very tough one for our first round. As we did see last week, we did have some varied opponents, to put it nicely. The first couple of matches did go pretty well. I won't spoil anything if you do want to go back and check out last week's video where we did just this. And we do have a pretty okay start here, nothing too great since we are starting with the Gumshoos, or the Yangoose I suppose, but we do have the Pokemon fan club here. That's really going to set us up very nicely to get going on these coming turns. We are going second, so we'll be able to make use of that Pokemon fan club nice and early here, and with my opponent going first, do get that first turn attachment down. But we're not too worried about that. We are going to be looking for the Gumshoos though, as that's really going to be doing some big damage here. Let's start off with the Pokemon Fan Club. I think we'll be getting down an early Inkay here. We definitely want to check if we have Malamars, but unfortunately we have priced one of those. I think we will also get a Dedenne, as that is just an overall good Pokemon to have since it can draw some cards here. And we just want to check some of our other stuff. We only have one Gumshoos in the deck, which isn't ideal. We definitely want more than that, so we'll have to try and just work with what we have available at the moment. Definitely benching all of these though will be a good thing, and I suppose we could just attach to the active potentially. Could be good if we do get the Gumshoos, but definitely not going to be likely. So it's probably better that we attach to the Necrozma here and pass it over to my opponent. Want to build up that big attack, and the Yangoose will be pretty easy to move out of the active spot with that one retreat cost. So if we do get the U-turn board, shouldn't be a big deal to retreat here. My opponent does get the extra energy down that they need, as well as getting that Pidgeotto down, allowing them to use the Airmail ability and draw extra cards every turn. They also get a nice big Lily off, allowing them to draw 4 cards, as they did get a pretty small hand. And they also get the Alolan Grimer there in the back, which is going to be a very good early game option for them to draw some cards. But it does look like they're wanting to start dealing some damage here, attacking with the Tornadus and not wasting any of the energy attachments that they put onto it. Let's go for the How. We do get another couple of good cards to work with, mainly the Titanileesa. And since we did draw the Silvally line, we will be putting that into play. Seems like a pretty good idea to go for that. We do also have the Necrozma, but that is only dealing 100 damage at a time since we don't have the special energy just yet, whereas the Silvally can deal 120. So I think we'll start attaching onto the type Null here and pass over to my opponent. We will just be giving up on the Yangoose, unfortunately, giving my opponent an early prize here so that we can try and get our board established. Most likely going to be promoting the Dedenne when we do get the Yangoose knocked out. And we see here my opponent is working towards that Dragonite, so their deck is functioning perfectly and as intended, which is definitely what we don't like seeing, as we want them to stall out and have bad hands of course, but they're getting absolutely everything that they need here. They take a knockout on that Yangoose, which goes down, and we're going to be forced to put up a Dedenne here. Most likely going to be attacking with it, but we do also have some other options if we need it. We pick up the second Necrozma, which is an excellent draw from us. Definitely just going to be attaching onto the active, and we can use our Titanileesa, shuffle in those 2 energies and draw a fresh hand. Oh, that is rough, man. We're not getting any of our Malamar. Well, I say any, we only have one in the deck. And we do have another type Null though, so we'll play that down so that we get an additional draw from our Dedenne, and we are at least dealing a little bit of damage. Not that it's going to be particularly relevant, as we really want to be attacking with our Silvally here. We do pick up the Mysterious Treasure though, that is going to allow us to grab the Malamar on this following turn, and we really need it as my opponent here does get the Dragonite to start accelerating energy on their end of the board. Now if we take a look at our retreat costs here, we have a 2 retreat on the Silvally and a 2 retreat on Necrozma, so either of these are going to be difficult to get out of the active spot, which makes things a little tricky as we don't really have a good Pokemon to promote here. But I suppose we could use the Silvally's Avenging Heat, or Avenging Heart, my bad. It does deal a total of 80 damage after a Pokemon has been knocked out and my opponent takes a prize, so it could be reasonable to get some extra damage in here, but we will be a little short of a knockout, which is rather unfortunate. We could also go in with Necrozma, deal 30 damage and reduce damage on the following turn. That is going to protect us, and of course it does have more than 80 HP, so the Tornadus wouldn't be able to knock us out anyways. It does seem like a reasonable option, although the Necrozma is a big attacking threat for sure. So it might be worthwhile just to put up the Silvally here, go in with that and chip away at my opponent. Just have to wait on them taking a prize card. I know it is a big decision picking one of the 5 cards that are available, but there we go, they finally take the prize card. We can promote our Silvally and we can definitely attach an energy onto it so that we can get an attack off. Putting down this second Inkay, we don't have use for it just yet since our other Malamar is in the prizes, but we will have a use for it at some point, certainly using our Mysterious Treasure to grab us the Malamar that we do have available. That's going to accelerate us some energy, and I think we'll go for the Lily. Since we do have a small hand, we want to make use of the Lily while we have it available. We'll also pick up the second Silvally, which is a very good draw. Let's Psychic Recharge though, putting it onto the Necrozma. Since we did pick up the Weakness Guard energy, that is going to allow us to use that full effect of Necrozma and deal some big damage. So we want that ready to go for when we need it, and then we can look to build up things like the Silvally and our other Necrozma here. My opponent does get down the Thundurus though, that is going to make life very difficult, as this Tornadus can start dealing some spread damage, putting 20 across our benched Pokemon, as well as hitting 80 into our active. Not going to be something that we want to see here, as well as this energy acceleration is going to be building up a bunch of attackers, using the Airmail to draw cards as well, so they have everything that they need, and their deck is definitely running smoothly. Ours is pretty smooth, it's just a matter of our deck runs a little bit slower than our opponent, but certainly it is easier to set up since we only have the stage 1s, the Malamar, in order to accelerate energy that way. That we do see an energy attachment from my opponent going onto the Thundurus there before attacking us. Doesn't look like they used the energy acceleration, but unless I missed it, doesn't seem like they used Dragonite. So either they forgot or they just didn't have the energy, or I guess I could have missed it, but pretty sure I didn't see them using it there. Let's go with a Psychic Recharge. My opponent can easily knock out our active Silvally, so there's no point attaching additional energy there. We just want to build up some benched attackers, so we'll Psychic Recharge, putting one onto our Silvally, and then we can also attach onto the Necrozma that we have here. We'll go for the Cynthia. There's not really too much that we want here, but it's always nice to refresh our hand and give us as many options as possible. And there we go, we do get the U-turn board, so that's a very nice pickup. And we can finally take our first prize card of the game. Hopefully it's the Malamar. Let's see what we get. That's not quite a Malamar, but it is a decent attacker that we can go with. Not super big damage, just 60 damage at a time with the Tauros of course, but could be relevant if we need to get something finished off if we're just short of a knockout. Something like that Dragonite for example. Since we are capped at dealing 160 damage, the Dragonite does have 160 HP, so we could get a one-hit knockout with our Necrozma, but if we have to attack it with something else, like the Silvally for example, then we will need that backup attacker to get the knockout finished off. We see my opponent is going for a similar idea here. They're looking to build up some other attackers on their bench so that they're not limited. We're going to be seeing an energy recycle or reset or whatever it's called, getting that lightning energy back. Certainly need that energy. If they didn't accelerate any last turn, they're going to be needing it this turn to get a big attack off and actually get a knockout here. Because if they miss the knockout, then they're going to be in a very difficult position going on to the back foot. But there we go, they used the Titan Lisa and that has got them into the energy, as we do see the Dragonite here getting one onto the active, and I'm guessing they're going to be attaching one onto the Thundurus as well, and that is exactly what they're going for. So they have everything that they need here. They're even going for the Airmail for good measure as well. Definitely don't want to forget about that one. They do have the liability of the Alolan Grimer there, of course, so they are clogging up a bench space, but they're in a very good spot overall. We're going to be needing to retreat here, and I think we do have the Inkay with a 1 retreat cost, so I think we'll just promote that since we can attach onto the Silvally no problem here, and finish up by playing it this way and get that Psychic Recharge in. Definitely makes sense going this route, and we could put down the Tauros, but I think the Gumshoos is better overall. It does have a higher damage output, so we'll put down the Yangoose for that reason. And I think we'll just actually hold on to this hand. We do have the extra Weakness Guard energy for our second Necrozma, so I will actually hold on to this hand for that reason for the following turn. And we can get a knockout here, dealing 120 damage, which is the perfect knockout on that opposing Tornadus. Now we do pick up our second Malamar, that's excellent. We're going to be in an excellent spot here to recharge some psychic energies from our Discord pal, and with those two Tornadus down, the Thundurus is going to be forced to use that second attack. Sure, it is the preferred attack that they're going to be needing to do to deal extra damage, but it means that they're not able to use that first attack at all to get the extra benefit, as they do need that Tornadus on their bench here in order to deal 70. But certainly that first attack is going to be sufficient in order to get a knockout. Did I say first attack? I meant second attack. The big one here dealing 120, Raging Thunder does deal 120 to knock out the majority of our Pokemon. Mostly though is going to be stuff that has less than 120 HP, but certainly since they used that Tornadus a couple of times, a lot of their Pokemon that did have more, like the 130 on Necrozma here, we can see it has been reduced, so they are able to get an easy knockout with the Thundurus now. It's just a case of seeing what we want to go in with. We do have the Inkay here that we can still easily retreat, so it makes sense to promote that for now. And I think we're going to have to go in with our Necrozma potentially. Really unfortunate, as my opponent can get a return knockout on that, but we don't really have any other choice here. I think we'll be putting down a Tauros just for the sake of it, and Psychic Recharging onto some of our Pokemon here. So we'll Psychic Recharge onto the Necrozma, also attach the Weakness Guard energy. And yeah, we're going to have to retreat here into the Necrozma before using our Malamar, and of course using our Cynthia, so that we can see some fresh cards. Not that there's anything that we're looking for, and of course we're going to draw into a lot of energy here, which is as expected, but we get that second Psychic Recharge on, and we can at least take a big knockout here, dealing 160 damage, more than enough to get the knockout. Now my opponent is going to be putting up something like the Thundurus again that they have on their bench, or they could even put up the Dragonite. They have a bunch of different attackers that they can go for here, and since they are ahead on prizes, it's most likely that my opponent is going to be winning this one. They only have to take 2 more prizes, and they do have the Thundurus to get a knockout here, and then on the following turn they can use that Dragonite to finish us off. Really unfortunate that my opponent did get that first couple of knockouts. We just did drew a little bit in the early game, but that is just the nature of this matchup because the Saurian Storm deck is so fast overall. And yep, my opponent gives us a, you have a good deck, of course we do have a very good deck. It's just the way that it goes sometimes in these matchups. I guess we can play out this hand and see what else we have left in the deck. Nothing too much really. We got a Yangus here. Sure, we'll take some of these. We have some psychic recharges that we can use, I guess, but none of this is going to be relevant, so I guess we're just going to be wasting time if we do that. We'll just attack into my opponent. They already have the energy on the Dragonite, and of course they're spamming us with the emotes to tell us that we are about to lose. Thank you for that, opponent. I am well aware they were about to lose. Yes, well played. We'll give them a well played back to indicate that we are indeed alive and awake here, but here comes the big Dragonite, going to hit us for 170 damage and take the last prize card. Bit of a shame that we're not able to win any Evolving Skies packs today, but we'll get into another match with this Necrozma deck just to show off the deck again and see if we can get a victory with it, since it is one of my favourite theme decks overall. It's super fun to play and try and get some victories with, so let's get into that match. Getting into a fun game here with the laser focused deck, we are up against the Rillaboom theme deck, so this should be a bit more of an interesting matchup. It's not going to be completely one-sided. I mean, sure, we still have a fair chance against Soaring Storm, but certainly it's going to be a difficult matchup when we do play it, so this is a much more of a fair matchup in my opinion, but we'll have to see how it goes. We do start off with the Tauros though, so not a bad starter whatsoever since we can attach. Sure, we're not going to be doing a lot on the first turn since we can't attack, but going for that turn to Berserker Tackle for 60 damage is going to set us up very nicely to get some big damage in on my opponent. And they are forced to use the Professor's Research here, so they're needing to find a basic Pokemon. They do get one, but we are going to be taking a knockout here since my opponent does have 60 HP, and that is going to be excellent to start us off on this game. They are going for the Great Ball, finding them another basic Pokemon along with a second Great Ball. Is it going to be a Grookey? It is the Grookey, so they can start working towards that Rillaboom line in these coming turns here. Their game plan is really going to be focused on getting the Rillaboom in the Snorlax site and getting it set up with the Eldegoss to really accelerate that energy there. We can attach this second energy, we'll go for the Cynthia. Don't really want to clog up our bench, so I didn't play down the Yangus there, but we don't get into much else anyways, which is fine I guess, as we do have the Pokemon Fan Club for this following turn. We do have to damage ourselves a little bit as well, but my opponent does take quite a while to get set up, so they go in with the Gossifleur here, and they do get the Eldegoss, so they can easily accelerate energy, and that's going to be their entire game plan for this turn, as well as the next turn, since we are going to be needing 2 turns to get a knockout on this Eldegoss, which is totally fine as we're still ahead. Sure, my opponent can get a Rillaboom set up a little bit easier, but we will have some good Pokemon on our end to get set up as well. We're not too worried about this. Like I said, we do have the Pokemon Fan Club, so that's going to grab us the Inkay that we need. We did just top deck the Necrozma as well, which is an excellent pickup as it's our big attacker. And I think we'll just take the double Inkay. We do have the Malamar in the deck this time, so definitely going for the double Inkay so we can get that going. Tempted to put down the type Null. I mean, 120 isn't a huge amount, but it knocks out everything apart from Snorlax and Rillaboom, so I don't hate putting that down, and we can start attaching onto the Necrozma as well, with the hopes of finding the Weakness Guard energy. Let's just hit our opponent for 60 damage. We have to take 10 damage ourselves again, of course, putting us on 30 damage on us. The Gossifleur, Eldegoss only deals 30 damage with that second attack, so not too worried about getting knocked out by an Eldegoss here. Just the Rillaboom that's going to be a problem. We do get a couple more Pokemon down here after using that Professor Research. Definitely something that I wish I had available, as Research would really help us out to draw a lot of cards, as well as discarding our energies to combo with our Psychic Recharge very nicely. But we are just going to be relying on Bugcatcher, which is certainly not the best supporter, potentially drawing 4 cards, but potentially also only drawing 2. Certainly Hop could be considered a better supporter in that exact situation. My opponent loading up the Maractus as well here, so they want to go for some big coin flip plays, which I don't blame them. That is a very good route to go for, very fun, I like it. Let's go for the Bug Catcher then, see if we get the heads. We do get the heads, there's the 4 cards, and of course 3 of them are going to be energy, because that's how badly I draw with this deck. For some reason I only ever draw energy, but nevertheless we'll attach to a Gumshoos, I think. It is a pretty good efficient attacker after all, and we'll just go for the knockout here with our Tauros, dealing that 60 damage, making it even easier for my opponent to get a knockout on our Tauros. And we do pick up a U-turn board, which is a pretty nice tool card to get there, but we will be putting up our Gumshoos. It is hitting for 90 damage, so I'm happy with that, as we can deal some good amount of damage into this Maractus, which does have 110 HP unfortunately, and a bunch of energy on it. So let's see if they can flip some heads. They do get 2 of them, that's all they need to get a knockout here. So my Tauros goes down. We will be promoting the Gumshoos, I think. Going to be the best option here, since we can efficiently attack with it, and cross our fingers that my opponent doesn't get heads once again. We do have the Psychic Recharge as well, so we can get that energy back into play, attaching it onto the Necrozma here. And there's not much else that we can do, don't really want to play down these Pokemon, so we'll just go for the attack, dealing our 90, and let's see if my opponent can flip some heads. Now we are still ahead on the prize race, but if my opponent does get this knockout, they're going to be able to tie it up, and we're going to be a little bit stuck for attackers. All we will be left with is our Necrozma, dealing at 100 damage at a time. There's 1 tails, there's a heads, and there's 2 tails. The Gumshoos stays alive, that's exactly what we needed here. We just needed an extra turn of getting some energy attachments, so now we're in a little bit of a better spot, but still not a great one, as we don't have any good attackers to actually make use of here. I'm going to be putting down some more attackers though, just in case we draw into them, as we certainly need them. We can get the knockout though with our Gumshoos, take out this Maractus before it does any more damage with those coin flips, and of course we're going to pick up another Psychic Energy from our prizes. My opponent promoting the Thwackey here, so of course they have the Rillaboom ready to go in their hand, and even have the Pokekid here, so they can start setting up a second Rillaboom, but it's going to be a little bit more difficult to get that one going since they don't have the energy for it just yet. Ideally we want to top deck a supporter card, but if we can at least get the special energy that we need in order to get the full effect from the Necrozma, that would be ideal here. I think we are going to be resorting to go in with our Type Null. We can potentially deal 60 damage with it, so that seems like a good option for me. And we do pick up a Dedenne, which honestly isn't terrible. We can make use of that at some point, so we'll go ahead and put that down. We'll Psychic Recharge onto the other Type Null that we have here, and it is indeed a 2 attack cost. Just want to make sure of that before I go and try and attack with it. And let's see, this will be at least somewhat relevant, dealing with 30 damage, as the Rillaboom does have a massive 190 HP, so dealing with 30 damage it takes it down to 160, and if we are able to top deck our weakness card Energy, then we can go in with Necrozma and get the knockout on this Rillaboom, which will be excellent. Oh man, there's a potion, so they completely counter us, healing that 30 damage, and meaning so that we can't get a knockout now. Although we did have to get lucky and actually draw into the energy here, but we can promote our Dedenne at the very least. Taking it from here, we do get a Lily, which isn't a great pickup as it's not going to draw us a lot of cards here, so we really have to play down our hand quite a bit and see what we get here. Let's Lily for 4. Yeah, so we still didn't get the energy, so it doesn't actually matter that my opponent got the potion, as we weren't able to get the energy that we needed. I guess we'll Psychic Recharge in the hopes of getting a Silvally there, and we can return for 20 damage. Again, not super good as we're not able to draw any cards off of it, and that's really what we're looking for here, as my opponent tied it up, going down to 3 prize cards, and now they're going to be going ahead since we did miss a couple of turns of getting a big knockout here, so we're going to be once again on the back foot. You can promote a Pokemon to retreat with. Just picking up more energy though, that is not going to help us at all. I guess we'll just retreat and again attack with the type Null, I suppose. Although I guess the Denny is probably a better option here since we can at least then draw cards. So we'll go with that. And attach energy, we obviously want Psychic Recharge, don't want to forget about it. And we can put energy onto Malamar, I suppose, the biggest attacker that we have. And we can also attach here, why not, we'll put a U-turn board there. And we'll return. We do get to draw a couple of cards this time. Yes, we want to draw. Can we get the energy? It is energy, not the energy that we need though. We need that Weakness Guard energy in order to deal with the Rillaboom. Sure, I guess we could have just went in with Necrozma, hit it for 100, but then we still have to get another 90 damage anyways, so this is going to be us trying to get that 90 damage in, but it is going to be a little bit too late as my opponent now only has one prize card remaining. So if we don't go in here with the Necrozma and find that energy, then we are going to lose this game, which is really sad. We do get a Bug Catcher. Can we draw? We do get 4 cards, but none of those is the energy that we need. Man, that sucks. We've really got no other options here. Yeah, there's no other way to win this game. That is game for my opponent, so I guess we'll just go in and deal the biggest amount of damage that we can and hit my opponent for 100 damage here. But they can then use that second attack on the Rillaboom and deal a massive 180. Definitely enough to get a knockout on our Necrozma with Drum Beating there. They're going to be BMing us a little bit using the Ordinary Rod. I don't think they realise that they only have one prize card remaining. They don't have to be doing any of this fancy shenanigans, shuffling cards back into their deck, as they're not going to be using them. The game is over. Really unfortunate that my laser focus deck did not go to plan this time around. It really let me down, as it's really showing that it can be a little inconsistent and the damage output is just a little bit short of where it needs to be, but certainly still a fun deck. We did deal a significant amount of damage, but it just wasn't to be this time around. We weren't able to win any packs and we weren't even able to beat Rillaboom, but hopefully you still enjoyed the gameplay nevertheless, and I'll see you in the next video.